Tonight, they've got a deal. Congress reaches agreement on an economic stimulus plan. I'm Katie Couric in Washington. Also tonight, as the salmonella death toll rises, the peanut executive accused of being most responsible gets the third degree.
Would either of you be willing to take the lid off and eat any of these products now?
And takes the fifth.
I respectfully decline to answer your question.
The war across our border. More than 20 killed in a battle between drug gangs and the Mexican army. And score one for the senior set. A 10-year-old Sussex Spaniel is America's top dog.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric reporting tonight from Washington.
And good evening, everyone. They have been very busy back there at the Capitol, and late today, negotiators announced the House and Senate have reached a compromise on an economic stimulus package. Price tag $789 billion, down from the more than $800 billion both houses had approved. And here's how it breaks down: 65% spending, 35% tax cuts, all aimed at giving the economy a boost and saving or creating more than 3 million jobs. Chip Reed is at the White House tonight. And Chip, did the president get what he wanted?
Well, Katie, he certainly did not get everything he wanted. For example, the bill falls short by billions on health care and education. But in the end, the president decided it's much more important to get this bill passed quickly and put people back to work than to get it exactly right. At a stalled road project in Virginia, 20 miles from the White House, the president said the time for debating his stimulus package is over.
We're surrounded by unmet needs and unfinished business.
A few hours later, a deal, by congressional standards, reached at lightning speed after negotiations that lasted well into the night Tuesday and continued through today.
The middle ground we've reached creates more jobs than the original Senate bill and spends less than the original House bill.
Representing the White House was Chief of Staff and hard-nosed negotiator Rahm Emanuel. But it was three moderate Republicans whose votes are essential to passing the bill who largely controlled the discussions and forced Democrats to cut spending by more than $30 billion, bringing the total to $789 billion.
That is less than either the House or the Senate passed bills. It is a fiscally responsible number.
According to White House and congressional sources, about one-third of the bill is spending to create jobs, including $150 billion for roads, highways, renewable energy, and other infrastructure. One-third is for tax cuts to encourage spending. The final third goes to the states to stabilize their economies and save jobs. Cut from the House bill, $16 billion for school construction and billions more for health care, both high priorities for the president. Embittered Republicans say the deal is exactly the wrong prescription for the economy.
I'm very disappointed. It appears that they've made a bad bill worse by reducing the amount of tax relief for American families and small businesses and adding more wasteful Washington spending.
Now, the White House would certainly like to have gotten more Republican support, but after trying unsuccessfully and with polls showing the public on the president's side, they decided it was time to muscle it through. Katie?
Chip Reed at the White House tonight. Thank you, Chip. One of the key players in getting this deal approved is the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. I talked to her this afternoon as Senate negotiators were announcing the agreement, and we spoke right after she'd been on the phone with the president. Are you surprised how intimately involved he is in the whole process?
Quite frankly, yes. I said, Mr. President, neither of us has time for this conversation, especially you. Because we really, we understand each other. We know where we need to go.
Can you tell us anything he said to you? Like, get cracking?
No, never that. We were always cracking. But it was really a moment for us to have the appreciation that in just a little while, maybe a couple of days, we will have passed legislation that will take the country in a new direction, which will begin us down the road of recovery.
Is the devil in the details?
I hope the angels are. Because what is in the details are how we will create those jobs, how we do it in a transparent way for the world to see, with accountability to the public, again, to build jobs, build confidence, and stabilize the economy. The bill that we passed 1 week and 1 day after the president's speech, honoring the promises he made in that speech, 90% of that bill is contained in the Senate bill.
Is there anything in the Senate version that you think shouldn't be in the package?
I would like to have seen more of an emphasis on job creation. I don't think there's any doubt that the House bill created more jobs. But this bill will create 3.5 million jobs. And 3 weeks ago, we weren't even on this path. I always say to my members, respect it for what it does rather than judge it for what it does not do, because this does an enormous amount. And in order for it to instill the confidence in the American people, I think we have to believe in what we are doing, and we believe in what we are doing.
When do you think this will come to a vote?
I'm hoping that the House would be able to vote for it Thursday or Friday, but I'm hoping Thursday.
And what about the Senate? Any idea?
Then we'll send it to the Senate. They have different rules as to how they can bring legislation up. So, but very soon, and certainly meeting the goal of having the bill signed into law before President's Day.
And when asked if she had been too partisan during the process, the Speaker defended the House version of the stimulus package that passed without a single Republican vote.
Right. We had an election, and it was about a direction for our country. We have strong philosophical differences in the Congress. This isn't inter-party bickering. This is major differences of opinion on philosophy on how our country should go forward. We reject the failed Bush administration economic policies which got us where we are today. The proposals that the Republicans put forth were more of the same. We will not go back.
And we'll take a closer look at the most powerful woman in Washington tomorrow night. Also on Capitol Hill today, some of the top bankers in America were called to account for their actions since receiving tens of billions of dollars in taxpayer money. Cheryl Atkinson now with that story.
The executives represent 8 banks that got $160 billion in bailout funds. Some were contrite over their role in the economic crisis.
We are sorry for it. I'm especially sorry for what's happened to shareholders.
But for some in Congress, sorry wasn't enough.
Basically, you come to us today on your bicycles after buying Girl Scout cookies and helping out Mother Teresa, telling us we're sorry, we didn't mean it.
It didn't help that New York's Attorney General is investigating a bailout bonus scandal. Merrill Lynch lost $27 billion last year and took $10 billion in taxpayer funds, but handed out $4 billion in bonuses just before getting swallowed up by Bank of America. One executive worked there just 3 months and got $29 million.
How can you justify paying bonuses to managers that were running their company into the ground?
We had no authority to tell them what to do.
Remember Citigroup CEO who canceled his order for a fancy $50 million corporate jet when the public found out?
I get the new reality, and I will make sure Citi gets it as well.
Today, he said he'll work for just $1 a year. All the executives say they got no bonus for 2008, but keenly aware of the PR fallout, bailed-out banks Morgan Stanley and Citigroup Smith Barney announced last week internally there would be awards.
Please do not call it a bonus. It is not a bonus. It is an award.
Congress may sound tough, but they've already given Treasury, with virtually no strings, the second half of bailout funds, most of which will also probably go to banks. Cheryl Atkinson, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
As I said earlier, it was a very busy day here on the Hill. There were fireworks at a hearing on food safety. A House committee subpoenaed the owner of that peanut company behind the national salmonella outbreak, but couldn't get him to talk. Meanwhile, an elderly woman in Ohio has become the 9th person whose death is linked to tainted peanuts. Nancy Cordes has our report.
Mr. Parnell, why have you declined to answer questions? The man at the center of the nation's largest food recall ever made no apologies today. In fact, he said almost nothing at all.
Respectfully declined to answer your question.
Stuart Parnell,
declined to answer your question.
The CEO of Georgia's Peanut Corporation of America,
on the advice of my counsel, I
sat stone-faced and took the fifth in response to every angry question lawmakers posed to him and a fellow executive.
In this container are products that have your ingredients in them. So I just wonder, would either of you be willing to take the lid off and eat any of these products now?
I respectfully decline to answer your question.
Parnell chose not to be in the hearing room when devastated families testified, sharing pictures of lost loved ones.
My father was a good man. My father died because he ate peanut butter. I want to see jail time.
Inspectors found roaches and mold in Parnell's plants. In newly released internal emails, Parnell orders workers to turn peanut products loose onto the market even after they tested positive for salmonella at least a dozen times since 2007. In other emails, Parnell complains that the time lapse while awaiting salmonella test results is costing him huge and says he desperately needs to turn his peanuts into money. The tainted food made its way into schools, nursing homes, and as many as 1,800 products, including 3-year-old Jacob Hurley's peanut butter crackers. He was sick for weeks. The family watched in disgust today as Parnell refused to testify.
Face the music, stand up. Let Congressman ask the questions of you.
And he did none of that.
And he did none of it.
But Parnell has to be careful about what he says now that criminal charges are a possibility. The Department of Justice is investigating Katie, and his facilities have been raided by the FBI.
Nancy Cordes. Nancy, thanks very much. The CDC says most major brands of peanut butter are safe, but Mark Strassman reports the scare is still taking a heavy toll on the snack food industry.
Through no fault of its own, Lance Crackers faces a crisis. Many Americans no longer trust the peanut butter on its crackers.
Consumers don't realize that our products are safe. We get this guilt by association.
All America's peanut industry feels it. Overall sales of peanut products are down almost 25%. At Lance Crackers, the loss is about $1 million a month. And yet this plant's food safety record is spotless. No food contamination in 37 years. To keep it that way, company employees take hundreds of swab samples every week.
What are you looking for?
We're looking for salmonella. We're just doing some routine salmonella checks on our peanut butter at different places throughout the plant.
The real issue is not peanut butter. It's quality control. From the planting fields to the factory floor to the store shelves. And how best to police all the endless steps in between.
Since 1973, the number of America's food plants has doubled. But with budget cutbacks, FDA inspections keep dropping. The jobs mostly left to state inspectors, but staffing, standards, and training vary wildly. And Georgia has had 2 major salmonella outbreaks in 2 years. A Conagra plant 2 years ago, and now PCA.
If the state's not there and FDA's not there, the consumer's largely on his own.
Lance is fighting back. In newspaper ads and internet videos.
At Lance, we make 100% of the peanut butter we use in our crackers.
Reminding consumers its peanut butter has nothing to do with PCA.
It's hard to believe a company that small could have this broad of tentacles.
But it has. In a food safety system more suspect than ever. Mark Strassman, CBS News, Charlotte.
Now to the Bernard Madoff scandal and some questionable transactions by his wife. Officials in Massachusetts said today Ruth Madoff withdrew millions from one of her husband's company accounts, including $10 million just one day before his arrest in December. Bernard Madoff is accused of swindling investors out of $50 billion. Still ahead here on the CBS Evening News, devastation in the heartland. A killer storm wipes out a small town. But up next, the drug war in Mexico. A shootout between drug gangs and the army leaves more than 20 people dead. In Afghanistan today, 8 Taliban gunmen wearing suicide vests attacked 3 government buildings. The coordinated assault was similar to the attacks last year in Mumbai, India, and it came one day before President Obama's envoy Richard Holbrooke is due in Kabul. In today's attack, 28 people, including the 8 terrorists, were killed. And there's another war going on closer to home. Authorities in Mexico are hunting for members of a drug gang who may have escaped a shootout with the army. It happened 80 miles south of El Paso, Texas, in a town where drug cartels now rule. Bill Whitaker has the latest on the Mexican drug war.
This bloodbath started as a drug gang kidnapping, ended in a shootout with Mexican troops. 21 killed in a snowy desert town, including 1 soldier. Since January 1st, some 230 drug slayings around Juarez, Mexico's murder capital. Compare that to 75 this time last year, and you get a sense of the exploding violence. Vicious cartels battling to control the $14 billion a year illicit trade feeding an insatiable U.S. appetite for drugs. Mexican authorities are hitting the cartels with all they have. Soldiers stormed this Juarez warehouse last week, seizing 2 tons of marijuana. Yesterday, 10 gangsters arrested in Mexico City with their cache of guns and grenades. But the gangs have the money and the weapons to fight back.
While drugs are being smuggled north, a lot of guns are going south.
Guns seized at the port of Long Beach in December being smuggled into Mexico. By U.S. estimates, 95% of cartel guns are smuggled from the states, 2,000 a day, according to a recent investigation. Janet Napolitano, the new head of Homeland Security, has ordered a crackdown on gun smuggling. On the streets of Juarez, it feels like war.
It's such a huge fight. It's going to continue until one of the cartels takes control of the country.
They had taken control of Villa Humada, the desert town where 21 died yesterday. Troops came in last year after traffickers killed 3 police chiefs and forced the mayor to flee. Tijuana journalist Vicente Calderon says the government was slow to react to the cartel's growing threat.
The government used to tell us that, oh, this was just a problem among drug cartels. During the last 2 years, it's coming out to the surface and affecting everybody else.
With more than 6,000 slayings, 2008 was Mexico's most deadly year for drug violence. This year is starting to look even worse. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Meanwhile, up in space, a first, 2 communications satellites collided. NASA says a Russian satellite crashed into a U.S. commercial satellite that's also used by the military. Both were destroyed, and there's now a massive cloud of debris expected to burn up before reaching Earth. When we come back, he survived, but for others, there was no escaping a killer storm. Tornadoes ripped across Oklahoma overnight. The most powerful hit the town of Lone Grove. 8 people there were killed, 14 others seriously injured. As many as 150 homes were destroyed. Hari Srinivasan is there.
A tornado steamrolled this small southern Oklahoma town, leaving behind a quarter-mile of debris and devastation. Trailer parks were hardest hit in this town of 3,500, and it is where most of the victims died.
It tore like a cardboard box. It was just like that.
28-year-old Jimmy Beatty is a survivor. He heard the sirens but could not escape. He broke his hip, his wrist, and suffered deep cuts to his head. Worst of all, one of the women sharing his trailer was swept away and killed.
This is the worst thing I ever went through.
Seasoned storm chaser Brad Patrick was out tracking the twister when he got too close.
It was just total pitch blackness, and it was very hard to see that tornado.
Patrick was so close that the instruments on his vehicle measured the storm's fury at 133 miles an hour.
May as well had, teeth and eyeballs because it was a big scary monster.
It was part of a monster storm system that brought rare February tornadoes from mid-Texas all the way up to northern Oklahoma, the 3rd year in a row that February storms have turned deadly.
It is unusual to have an outbreak of tornadoes this early in the severe weather season, but it is not unheard of, especially in the southernmost reaches of the country.
Whether a fluke or a forerunner of more to come, this storm changed the landscape of Lone Grove forever.
It to be almost demolished, ruined, and in the blink of, practically an eye, it's hard.
We are just getting word that the National Weather Service is going to give this tornado a preliminary rating of an EF4. That means this huge mess was created by winds greater than 165 miles an hour. Katie?
Hari Srinivasan in Lone Grove, Oklahoma. Thank you, Hari. Coming up next, a canine comeback. The dog that came out of retirement to win it all at Westminster. At America's Top Dog Show, it was a win for the ages. Old ages. The best in show is 10 years old. That's 70 in dog years.
I love them all. Tonight, the Sussex.
The Sussex Spaniels.
And with that, Champion Classic's 3D Grinchy Glee, better known thankfully as Stump, pawed his way into Westminster history.
The 10-year-old Sussex Spaniel, Stump.
Talk about teaching an old dog new tricks. At the age of 10, Stump is the oldest contestant to win the world's most famous dog show. coming out of retirement to beat nearly 2,500 of his fellow canines.
And that stump.
But his road to the title has been littered with drama. After making it all the way to the finals at Westminster in 2004, he caught a nearly fatal bacterial infection. Not only was he expected never to compete again, few believed he'd even live to see his 6th birthday.
He couldn't pick his head up. He couldn't stand up. He had 105 to 107 temperature for a week. It was awful.
It was a big winner come out of retirement for this show.
So last night capped an epic comeback. Today he had his victory lunch, savoring steak tartare at New York's Grand Central Station. Tomorrow, he'll fly back home to Texas in first class.
No more dog shows, that's it. He's just going to lounge around and sleep in the bed as long as he wants to, get up and go out and run around the backyard, do whatever he wants.
So for dogs, I guess 10 is the new 8. That's the CBS Evening News for tonight. With thanks to the Jones Day Law Firm for this window on Washington, I'm Katie Couric. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Scott Summer handling for owners Cecilia Ruggles and Beth.